Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Agrible, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, now that it's Thursday, we can take a look back at what Tropical Depression Alberto looked like all day on Wednesday. You see, the circulation of Alberto was absolutely amazing. I have never seen a circulation so tight, getting all the way up into parts of Indiana and all the way up into Michigan by the end of the day. Just impressive to see that. But the bigger picture that we have to discuss here is, as Alberto made its way through the middle part of the country and as storms fired up across the Great Plains, what did precipitation look like recently over the last week? To put that into context, remember this. Here's the last 30 days expressed in terms of a departure from normal. So we're looking at departure from normal in inches. And the regions that we've been discussing that we need to be watching carefully are parts of Illinois and Indiana, also getting down here into parts of Texas, parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, even parts of Mississippi. It's been dry in those regions. It's been extremely wet here in the southeast, where we've had a lot of moisture just coming in offshore, out of the Gulf of Mexico, just multiple pulses of very, very wet conditions, high precipitable water, a lot of moisture in the atmosphere there. Very, very wet, where we've had a lot of severe weather activity here in parts of Colorado, parts of Wyoming, and then really get into Nebraska and Kansas. And remember, this precipitation was primarily from several weeks ago, but still showing up wet over the last 30 days. Kind of moving out west here, we can see that even though we have quite a bit of drought in this area, remember, it's already dry. So when you don't see big anomalies, remember, a 1 or 2 inch anomaly below average here is very, very dry for western Texas. And also we can see that along the west coast of the United States, we have favored a drier pattern. We're going to talk a little bit more about California in just a few moments here. Okay, with this kind of all as the backdrop, this is what we got out of the last 3 days. There was an enormous amount of severe weather. We're going to look at that in just a few seconds here in the Great Plains. But what I really want to see here is, how did Alberto's track really influence where the heavy precipitation made it? Now, if we zoom in here on Illinois and Indiana, we had flash flooding in this little corridor right here in parts of Illinois. So an enormous amount of precipitation rolled through this area. But the main track of Alberto went something just like this. And what it showed us is this region in through here had pretty consistent rainfall throughout much of the day on Wednesday. Finally, some of the rain bands moved into this part of Illinois, which has been dry recently. So this rain was very much welcomed. What I'm concerned about is, yeah, we did get some thunderstorms. We did get some of Alberto's rain, but this region right in through here did not get as much as we had hoped. And so that's crucial. This is an area that we're going to have to keep watching very, very carefully. Moving out to the Central Plains, just to show you how rough things have been out there, I've got the last 3 days of severe weather reports kind of in these dots here on this map on the left. We've had over 775 reports at this point, and look at how the Central Plains and the High Plains have been lit up. We've had some thunderstorms that have gone through and dropped in some locations well over 5 inches of rain, and there's been a lot of hail, many tornadoes, and some very, very strong winds. So this has been a nasty, last few days here in the Central and the High Plains with severe weather. I don't have enough time to show you all the amazing pictures and videos of some of the stuff I've seen out here, but it's been rough. Now, when we come back to just talking briefly about corn, I want to show you the May 1st to May 28th temperature anomalies. Now, what we can see is a couple of interesting things across the U.S. because we've largely favored a trough sitting over the western United States. Look at how cold things have been compared to average in parts of California. So we've been cool here and relatively dry. We favored a ridge across much of the central part of the United States, and look at the heat that we've kind of put into place right in through here. Remember, last weekend we saw 100-degree temperatures getting all the way up into parts of Iowa and really the Central Plains into there. Because of all the tropical activity coming up here into parts of Florida, it's been so wet and cool. That's why we're seeing cool anomalies in this region. But what you've got the numbers here, what these numbers represent is the percent of the corn crop that's emerged. And where you've got those really higher than average values, we've just had warmer than average conditions. We've been accumulating a lot of growing degree units. We're behind up in parts of the Dakotas and Minnesota. And why I'm showing you this is, we're going to have to watch pollination really over a much more extended time period this July. We're going to be getting into pollination very early into this part of the country, and then maybe 3 to 4 weeks later in parts of the northern plains. So that's important to kind of check out here. And also, we're going to talk a little bit more about California hanging on to this cooler pattern with time here. Okay, if we just take a look at some important features here, I just want to talk about a couple of things very quickly. This is a map of global sea surface temperatures. Thinking about tropical cyclone activity, I want you to see that the main development region for hurricanes, these waves that come off of Africa, right now things are cool in this area. Now, hurricane strength is directly tied to sea surface temperatures, so which means we're going to have to watch this area to see if it warms up. The warmer it gets, the more potential you can have in your hurricanes. But right now, it's very cold, and that doesn't bode well for hurricanes. Secondly, we've got warm water in through this area. Now, that warm water has two major implications. One, if we develop a weak El Nino in this particular region right in through here, well, that could actually help suppress hurricanes as well. But it's more important to talk about this with respect to Corn Belt weather, especially sea surface temperatures right in through this area. You see, this is what I mean. What you're looking at here is a map where the color coding shows you the correlation between the sea surface temperatures, actually the skin temperature over the whole Earth, and ridging in Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan. So right in through here. What this basically says is, if we want to see a big ridge in summer setting up right over the middle part of the country, and these ridges bring in heat and drought, we need to see much cooler than average ocean temperatures in through this area. And as you just saw, we don't have that right now. If we see cooler temperatures spreading into this area over the coming months, well, that's something to watch. I just want to kind of show you that relationship because it's something that I look at all the time in my long-term forecasts. Okay, when we talk about the short-term forecast, the feature we're going to be paying attention to is right here. You see, this is a map I pulled off around 12:30 in the morning on Thursday morning. We had this squall line. Well, it's really actually an embedded cluster of thunderstorms producing some hail moving through parts of the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas and southern Kansas. You see, this is actually forming on the leading edge of a little short wave, and that short wave is expected to move toward the east over the next basically 24 to 48 hours. And that's going to be the first system we're going to watch. Secondly, pay close attention to the northern plains as we move forward in this forecast as well. You see, the whole story is told right here in the flow of the atmosphere. You're looking at a map that shows you vorticity. This is mid-level spin. You see, on Thursday, it's this feature right in through here, this little shortwave, as it moves toward the east, that's going to be bringing some possibly very strong thunderstorms into this part of Illinois, Missouri, possibly even Tennessee, Kentucky, southern Indiana. So this is an area we're going to be watching on Thursday. In the meantime, a much broader trough again comes in here off the west coast. That's what keeps things cooler in California. Now, as I kind of animate this forward here, what I wanted you to see is this. By the time we get into Friday into Saturday, what we see is this big trough that kind of moves right into the middle part here of the Great Plains, really in the high plains. And out ahead of it, that's going to be providing some great upper level support on Friday into Saturday for producing a pretty large squall into thunderstorms. Meanwhile, a cutoff low moves through Southern California. We'll see the implications of that in just a few seconds. So as this moves through, what we're going to see here is that sweeps on through, moving through the eastern Corn Belt by the time we get into Sunday. And after that passes, this is what happens. The jet stream is going to tend to favor a kind of a picture like you see right here into next week. First of all, as that trough moves through, cooler and drier air is going to move into this section of the country. We'll talk about that in a few seconds. But a ridge most certainly builds back into the middle part of the country. And what I want you to see when we talk about that is this. As we animate out through the next 10 days, do you see here how Texas really kind of hangs out in this kind of right in the middle of this donut here, this larger ridge? That's not good. We're going to be talking about that pattern being quite hot and quite dry for Texas. Okay, when it comes to the moisture content in the atmosphere, well, this is this huge soupy air mass that's been in place as Alberto's kind of come on shore. So we're looking at dew point temperatures in through this whole region that have been way up above 60 degrees. That's why we've had all these hit or miss showers and thunderstorms. Well, as we move forward in this forecast, watch what happens. Now, we get through the day on Friday, things stay pretty soupy. So Thursday, Friday, that's why we can get those severe thunderstorms that move right in through this area. But by the time that shortwave trough moves through on Sunday to Monday, we get some reprieve. See the dry air that's trying to move in? It doesn't hang around for very long, though. See all that soupy air move right back in as we get into the second full week of the month of June. Now, wherever we have this high humidity air, because we're in this summertime pattern with this broader ridge sitting over the middle part of the country at times, that basically means we're going to have a whole lot of hit or miss showers and thunderstorms. everywhere where you see this high humidity air, that's a possibility, which means that's going to be a day-by-day thing that we're going to have to observe and forecast. Okay, let's take that and move on with this. Thursday into Friday, we're watching a couple different areas for some severe weather. On Thursday, it's where the storms on Wednesday night into Thursday morning move over toward this region. So the Storm Prediction Center is keeping an eye right here. As that upper level trough kind of ejects out in the northern plains, that's where we're going to see some severe weather on Thursday, and that translates to the east, possibly into a big squall line by the time we get into the day on Friday. And this is what I'm talking about. Watch this carefully. As we get through the night on Thursday, there goes the system over toward Illinois, Indiana, this area. Friday, watch up here. So switch your gaze up here to the north central plains. You can see that as that trough comes through, kind of step back here, sorry, we went pretty fast. As that trough comes through, lines of showers and storms right in through this area. Some of them could be severe, and those move toward the eastern Corn Belt as we get through the day on Saturday into Sunday. Now, hard to pinpoint exactly how and when these are going to come through, but this was some of the best guidance I had as of late in the night on Wednesday. Total accumulated precip, well, here it is kind of all played out. And again, what we see here are the main features we've been discussing. So that is primarily going to be the storms that are going to move right in through this area, possibly severe in through here. And then our shortwave trough that kind of comes out, bringing in some strong storms here on Thursday, and then here on Friday, pushing into this direction on Saturday into Sunday. So that's our setup, and you can clearly see that things, kind of progress to the east with time. Temperature-wise, we've got high heat advisories through parts of Texas. So look at this: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, high temperatures on top, low temperatures on bottom. We're talking about some pretty serious heat in the south central plains under that ridge on Friday. Triple-digit heat in parts of Texas and Oklahoma here. We're going to be keeping overnight lows in the 70s across much of the south as well. So we're going to stay warm until that cooler, drier air moves in after the weekend. Now, the pattern is important to assess. Now, watch this. I'm just going to play for you out the GFS ensemble getting you all the way to mid-month. What is the ensemble favoring? Well, what it's favoring is a trough feature kind of sitting here off the west coast. It's favoring a ridge in the middle part of the country and possibly a trough-like feature here over the northeast. So what does that signify? That signifies hotter and drier weather for much of the central part of the United States. More unsettled weather here for the west coast, and cooler than average temperatures at times for the northeast and possibly extending down into the southeast as well. Now, there's a lot of reasons why this pattern's setting up in this direction, but what I really want to focus on in this video is maybe showing you more about what we've got in terms of kind of multi-model support. So check this out. This is an animation from the long-range European model, and we see kind of a similar picture. Now, what has changed in the long-range European model over the last few runs is the Euro was trying to keep the ridge way out west initially, and it has since moved it farther to the east. That keeps more heat in the central part of the United States with time. Certainly, the eastern part of the country will see more influences from some upper-level troughs, and therefore see more seasonable temperatures. But I think we keep quite a bit of heat in the central part of the country when you look at it kind of in aggregate over the next couple of weeks. Now, when we look out for the next 10 days, this is the long-range kind of European model showing you the next 10 days. Well, look, you can see the influence of that ridge keeping a lot of the heat in this particular location. I noticed that you see some cooler temperatures in this area, but don't think it's going to be cold. We're just talking about temperatures that are a couple of degrees below average here. It's just that overall flow pattern kind of does something like this. And that kind of pattern just keeps heat in the central part of the country, and it allows temperatures to kind of moderate here in the east and west coasts. So that's what we're paying attention to in terms of temperatures. Now, in terms of precipitation, this is where we really got to focus in here. Now, what we're seeing here is 15-day forecasts from the European model on the left and its ensemble members, and the U.S. model, the GFS, on the right. Both are picking up on dry conditions across a big section of the country. We would expect this because if a ridge tends to dominate the flow pattern of the atmosphere, this prevents a lot of low-pressure systems moving through the central part of the United States. Hence, no big organized low-pressure systems, no big shields of precipitation. Therefore, all we get in here is rebounding Gulf moisture and hit-or-miss thunderstorms. So we have to watch this carefully because this means fields that don't get these thunderstorm activity over the next 15 days stay dry. And we're already concerned about a few areas. I just kind of highlighted them here for you. And therefore, we got to keep watching those areas very carefully as we move forward in the forecast. So this is pure summertime forecasting here. Hit or miss thunderstorms, no big organized low pressure systems. So keep a close eye on this with me over the coming days. I want to finish, I know my video is getting long, but I had so much I want to tell you. I want to finish with one last thing. Here's the last 7 days of precipitation as measured from satellite. Now check this out. Focus first up here north of the Korean Peninsula, this area right in through here. This area had been dry for the last 30 days. They, over the last 7 days, actually had some pretty persistent wetter weather in this area. So we're going to see these precipitation anomalies move back toward more normal or even wetter bias. Where it was dry over the last 7 days, 2 regions. Right here north of the Black Sea, we saw some widely hit or miss showers and storms, and almost all of Brazil was very, very dry. But the monsoon is over, so this would be very normal for this time of year. I just wanted to give you that global perspective as we wrap up this video. So with that, I'll finish up. We at Agrible hope you look forward to that forecast coming out early Monday morning. Head to agrible.com to learn how you can get real-time agronomic and sustainability insights all at the touch of a button. Again, look forward to talking again after the weekend.